Hi, Filter here. I was just watching Clownfish TV, his videos, and he made the point that there might be only 2 years left in the comics industry. Well, let's look at the comic industry today. You have writers that push an agenda that nobody cares about, art that, quite frankly, it's not the Marvel way, if you get my drift. In one of my videos, I pointed out that How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way was one of those things. It was that book. Every kid, every artist, I'm pretty sure Ethan Van Sciver has it lying around. Um, I think Razorfist might even have one. Anybody who knows comic books probably has this book lying in. It's either on their bookshelf or it's buried somewhere in a crate somewhere in the garage or in the basement. But everybody has that book. And the artwork in it was always dynamic. It was supposed to be dynamic. You're supposed to look at it and go, wow, this is awesome. This is great. But nowadays, when you look at the interior art, I'd say half the artwork is just subpar. It's completely subpar. Nobody wants to buy this. The stories suck. Let me put it this way. They've turned more characters gay and non-binary than most people know gay and binary people. They forget the demographic. I mean, how can I put it this way? There are people who live in certain neighborhoods where they're going to see a good amount of people who are in the gay non-binary area. Outside of that, that's another ballgame. It's a different environment. It's a whole different animal. And then there's the politics. Sure, comics were always political, but it was subtle and it allowed room for you to make a decision on whether you were for or against. A good example of this is something Vic Mignogna said for his Star Trek Continues. If you have not seen Star Trek Continues, I, in one of my videos, describe it as a love letter to Gene Roddenberry and the fans. It literally picks up every last bit of the spirit of the original series. And if you and if you pay attention, it leads into certain things you'll see into the next generation. That being said, one story written by Kipley Brown, she plays Lieutenant Jones. Is it Jones Smith? Oh, good grief! Anyway, she revives the character played by Andrea Jerome in Where No Man Has Gone Before. She was holding Gary Mitchell's hand when he got cosmically charged psionically. And if you pay attention to that, if you pay attention to the episode "What Ships Are For," which stars June no Anne Lockhart from Battlestar Galactica, John Delancey, we all know who that guy is. Anyways, it was about the concept of migrants coming over to a safe place. And people said that it was, oh no, it's pro migrant, ah. Then the people say, it's anti migrant, ah. And Vic Mignogna said, well, that was the whole point. It's supposed to make you think. It's not going to side one side or the other. If both people are coming across with two different views of the same story, then he did his job, as he said. Then the job was done. But like I said, with comics, it's like that. It's not like that, actually. There is no middle ground. They don't show, per se, the conservative point of view as being somebody who has a general concern. No, it's just a cookie cutter version of what they hear on MSNBC, CNN, Young Turks, Sam Cedar, David Pakman. It's the same thing. It's just weird, one sided, one dimensional point of view. And again, Comics, yeah, they've had some political things, some socio-political things in there. Hell, the X-Men talked about the concept of suicide. They touched upon the AIDS crisis. They touched upon those things. But then there were other times they were just out saving the world, hopping the universe, hopping the galaxy, just going all over the place. They did something fantastic in the early days of the X-Men. Yes, they talked about discrimination. And in the 80s, it appealed to a lot of young people who were, I guess, coming out of the closet, and it made a lot of sense, feeling ostracized. But at the same time, it also appealed to the nerdy kid. The nerdy kid who felt he couldn't play sports, he or she couldn't play sports, he or she wasn't that popular, that sort of thing. It appealed to them too. That was the point I saw in the X Men growing up, because I was a nerd as a kid. Okay? But that got destroyed in the interim, where people just stopped doing comics and started proselytizing. I often describe what you see now in comics as reading a chick track. Again, the only difference between a chick track and these comics, at least the chick track has better artwork and is a little bit more informative. And you know where they're coming from. They're not going to try to be neutral. A chick track isn't neutral. You know it's a strictly Christian comic. Those comics are strictly Christian. So comics today should be something for everyone, not just one side, appealing to one side. And that's what they're doing. They're appealing to an almost non existent demographic. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that the demographic doesn't exist, but that how many of that demographic read and still collect comics? And how many of them still want to see this stuff? Think about it. They retconned Iceman. Why did they do that? They didn't have to make him gay. They could have literally introduced another character. And even then, when they turned Iceman gay. All I saw was Cena Grace tell his own coming out story. And that's what it's constantly become. Everybody's doing a coming out story. Okay, we get it. I'm not Starfire, which is makes no sense whatsoever. Gotham High again. This they completely twisted the story into something. The writer wanted to write Crazy Rich Asians and put it in Gotham City. Well, guess what? Maybe you should have just wrote the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians instead of using Batman. Is that too difficult? Or maybe you could have told, I don't know, maybe an original story, create a completely new character. Shocking. But they can't do that. These people are bereft of imagination. They are legends in their own mind. They do not believe that people outside their bubble have lives, real lives, lives that matter. They don't see the other side of the equation. They don't see the other side of the river. They don't see what's beyond over the train tracks. They only see what's in their 5 block radius. I'll tell you a story. Growing up, I lived in, I guess you could say, the hood. And one of the things I noticed was that there were so many people stuck. They were just stuck. They were stagnant. They didn't go anywhere. Oh, sure, they'd made travel out there. I knew one kid. He traveled out somewhere. He was trying to be a little would-be gangster, and like a would-be gangster, he got his ass shot and killed. But the problem is, he didn't understand the most important factor: that there is a world out there. Not everybody plays by the same rules. I joined the Air Force and I went overseas and I got to see an entirely different culture. Not to mention, I got to see on the base I was stationed at, I got to see the cultures of other people from all around the United States. I began to understand what the guy from Wisconsin was like, the kid from Arizona, the guy from Alaska, the dude from Florida. I got to see those people. And that's why people like Kelly Sue DeConnick, Cena Grace, and all the other idiots that run Marvel and DC, they need to do. They need to drop what they're doing, go out and talk to people. See, they don't talk to people. They hate talking to other people because I think they're afraid that it's going to be an invasion of the body snatchers and they're going to lose their personality or some shit like that. That that's what I'm pointing out to. Okay, comics right now could be probably saved only by one thing. People need to independently put out their own stuff. That's all you need to do. Put out that independent comic. Advertise it on a website. Network. Whether it be Getter, X, hell, maybe even Truth Social. Promote it. And let's see who's going to buy it. What we do know, and it could be just simply direct mail order. Just send it out there. Do your book, send it out there. Everybody's happy. Right now, comics is in its death throes. And if anything that needs to be done, the wokeness needs to end. It really does. The wokeness just needs to end. We need to get rid of the people that are screwing it up. Tell these writers if they want to write their social justice crap, why don't they get out of Marvel and DC and create their own book? But again, they can't do that because they know it's not going to sell. At least not really. I'm sure it'll sell, it'll have a little niche market, but other than that, their messages aren't cutting it anymore. Nobody wants to see gay Iceman. No one wants to see 2/3 of the X-Men non-binary, trans, or gay. I'm sorry. This isn't an indictment against gay, trans, LGBTQ community. This isn't. Even I know that the LGBTQ community might find what they're doing is tedious. You don't need 800 bits of representation to tell the story. I mean, if you have it in one comic, that's fine. But then when it's every comic, and then if it's a team comic, and everybody's in the same boat, it's like, no, it's overkill. Don't tell a one-sided story. Well, I guess this is my rant. I don't know. It's about, let's see, what time is it? Oh, 9:30? Huh, ain't that a trip. Anyway, it's about 9:30. I just thought I'd put that out there. In the interim, rate this video if you like. Leave a comment below. Until then, I'm Filter, and I'm out.